Welcome back, students. So we have just finished the thermodynamics part in the previous lecture. So now this is the final part in this, that is formation of steam. Okay, so we have to study the formation of steam. This is a very important question. All right, the formation of steam. Every time it is asked in the examination to explain with the help of TS diagram. You need to draw the temperature enthalpy diagram, temperature enthalpy diagram, and explain what happens at various stages. Okay, it's a very, very important question, formation of steam. Okay, so let's begin now. So steam exists in 3 different stages. Okay, you will also have to learn these 3 stages. What do you mean by wet steam, dry steam, and superheated steam? Okay, so all these things I will tell you when I explain the concept of that formation of steam. Okay, so steam generation experiment, that is what I am talking about actually. So steam generation experiment is conducted to know the properties of steam such as pressure, temperature, volume, etc. So these are the things which we are going to study with the help of a steam generation experiment. Okay, so this is what is called the formation of steam, how steam is being formed and what are the things that we are going to be studied. Okay, so first of all let me just go through this picture and then explain the things. Okay, so initially let's say you are taking water at 0 degree Celsius or at room temperature, maybe we'll consider it as 0 degree Celsius only, as it is given here, water at 0 degree Celsius, and then you keep a piston on top of that. Now why this piston is kept is because to maintain the pressure. Okay, for that purpose we are keeping the piston on top of this and a weight on top of that. Alright, then when you start supplying heat to that, initially the volume will be V1 or V we will generally take. Some volume of water we have taken, on top of that there is a piston and a weight kept on top of that, and now the water is at 0 degree Celsius and you start heating the water. So generally what happens is, as the heat increases, as you start increasing the heat, the water starts to expand, isn't it? The volume will increase. So it would reach to a next state. And after a certain time, the water will start boiling. That means when it reaches probably say 100 degree Celsius, the water will start boiling at that particular point. And then if you continuously increase the heat, you are not stopping the heat at all, you are giving the heat, then what will happen? At 100 degree Celsius the water starts boiling, and then the temperature may not go up, because from 0 degrees the temperature will go on increasing, isn't it, as you supply the heat, and water will be in the liquid state only. But as you increase the heat, as the temperature rises up to say 100 degree Celsius, and then if you continuously heat it further, the water temperature will not go up, rather it starts converting into vapors. The water will start converting into water vapor. So you will have a mixture of water as well as water vapor in this particular state, because you are continuously supplying heat. Then what will happen? You continuously heat further, so all the water what is present will be converted into vapor, and then it will become steam, and that is called as dry steam. So you can see it here in this particular thing. So there won't be any water at all, because you are not stopping the heat, you are continuously supplying the heat. It was at 0 degrees, from there it started increasing in its temperature, it reached the boiling point, and then it starts converting into vapor. You are further heating that, so all the water whatever was present will be dried, and now it becomes completely vapor. That is called as dry steam. And what do? You still don't stop heating, you still increase the heat further, then the temperature will start rising again. Till now the temperature will not rise, because all the heat energy that was given will be utilized for converting that water into vapor, from water to steam. And now that everything is converted into steam, the phase itself has changed from liquid to vapor. And if you still further heat it, then the steam what is produced will again start increasing in temperature, and that heat when you further supply, and that steam which is produced is called as superheated steam. Got it? So initially water will be at 0 degrees. When you heat it, water temperature rises, phase will not change. After certain time, water starts becoming vapor, and that is called as actually wet steam, because there is a mixture of steam and water vapor in that. But if we still continuously heat that, then the water molecules will completely go and they become steam. That is called as dry steam. And if you further heat the dry steam, it again possesses more energy. It's called as a superheated steam. Okay, so this is how the formation of steam works. So this is explained in this particular graph, TH graph. So all of you have to draw this graph properly and explain all the points. What is A, what is B, what is C, what is D, what happens at every instant you have to explain. And also explain the different enthalpies. What do we call? So there are so many terms here. If you can observe the graph properly, there's something called as TS, TSUP, HF, HFG, CPS. There's so many terms. So you need to know all of these terms while explaining this concept. And this question generally is asked for 10 to 12 marks. They always ask this question. Explain the formation of steam with the help of a TH diagram. So this is the TH diagram that I'm talking about here. So you will draw this TH diagram, explain what happens at every instant. What do you mean by HF? What do you mean by HFG? What do you mean by TS? What do you mean by TSUP? Everything has to be explained. Okay. So the same sketch which I showed you in the previous slide also has to be drawn, and also this has to be drawn, and you have to relate it. What is happening at point A, what is happening at point B, what is happening at point C, what is happening at point D. You have to explain that. So let's say initially, as I told you, you will be taking water at 0 degree Celsius. Okay, initially water will be taken, and you will start heating the water. So you can see the graph on the y-axis is represented by temperature T, and on the x-axis it is represented by enthalpy H. So it's a temperature enthalpy graph, or TH diagram, what we call it. Okay, so on the y-axis we have temperature, and on the x-axis we have enthalpy. So initial point is point A. This is the point. So this is represents 0 degree Celsius, and the water will be taken at this particular point. Then what will happen? You start giving the heat. You start supplying the heat. So when you start applying the heat, what will happen is the temperature will start increasing. As you can see, the line AB, if you observe, so from 0 degrees the water will start heating, and as well as the enthalpy also increases, and temperature will also increase. So it will increase, and it will reach a point B. Okay, now what is this point B? This point is called as saturation temperature. That is what denoted by TS. Okay, TS is saturation temperature, and at this particular point B, what enthalpy is there, that is called as HF, or it is called as sensible heat. Okay, HF is called as sensible heat, and TS is called as saturation temperature. Now you will have to define what you mean by saturation temperature and what you mean by sensible heat. Okay, so what is saturation temperature? Now can you define it by seeing this? So it will be defined like this. The saturation temperature is a temperature at which the water begins to boil at the stated pressure. Okay, so saturation temperature is defined as the temperature at which water begins to boil at a stated pressure. So now you understand why the stated pressure. That means we are trying to maintain the pressure constant here. That is the reason why we have kept this one, the piston and the weight, so that the pressure will always be constant. Constant pressure is maintained in that. Okay, if we do not keep this, then the pressure will vary. We are explaining the concept of this with the help of T and H, that is temperature and enthalpy, keeping pressure constant. That is why we have to maintain this piston and a weight on top of that, so that the pressure will always be constant. There is no increase or decrease in pressure. Pressure will be constant. Okay. So what is saturation temperature? The saturation temperature is defined as the temperature at which water begins to boil at a stated pressure or at constant pressure, you can say. Now the temperature is Ts. Okay, so temperature is there. Now if you see the x-axis, this much heat is being supplied, right? When you supply so much of heat, only water has reached its saturation temperature. So what is this heat? How can you define this heat as? Sensible heat. So sensible heat can be defined as the amount of heat required to raise the temperature of 1 kg of water from 0 degree Celsius to the saturation temperature at constant pressure. Understand? How do you define this HF, sensible heat? So what is that sensible heat? Sensible heat in simple terms, if I want to say, it is the amount of heat that you are actually supplied for the water to heat from 0 degree Celsius to its saturation temperature, right? So much heat has been supplied for the water to go from 0 degree to its saturation temperature, and that much heat is called as sensible heat and denoted by HF. So I'll repeat that definition again so you can understand that now. So sensible heat is the amount of heat required to raise the temperature of 1 kg of water from 0 degree Celsius to its saturation temperature at constant pressure is called as sensible heat, and it is denoted by HF. Okay. Next, what will happen? That you have continuously giving the heat here, so water has increased and it has reached a point that is called a saturation temperature. So it has reached the saturation point. Now if you further heat, what will happen? There won't be increase in temperature. You can note that this level is there, no, that is not going up, but it is kept constant. That means all these things will have that same temperature only. Then what happens to the heat? We are not stopping the heat, isn't it? The heat is being continuously supplied. If you can see in the previous sketch, so it has reached the saturation temperature now. Here B, from A we have started, point B we are done. Okay, so it has reached the saturation temperature, but again we are continuing to heat it further. We are not stopping, but the temperature is not increasing. As you can see, temperature remains same. It's a straight line, constant temperature now. Then what is happening to the heat? So whatever heat you are supplying now will be utilized for converting the water into vapor, right? All the water molecules what are present will start becoming vapor right now. So that means if I take any point from B to C, so in between this there will be some portion of water and some portion of vapor. So if I keep it close to B, then obviously vapor content is less, water content is more. But as this line moves further and it reaches the point C, then the water content goes on reducing and vapor will become increasing, and when I reach the point C, there won't be any water molecules present at all. It will be completely vapor. Okay, so at point B we have 100% water actually, at point C we have 100% vapor. So this, in between this, what we have is called as wet steam between B and C. So at any point if you take between B and C, there will be a mixture of water and vapor. That's what you call as wet steam. So the percentage of wet steam will go on varying here. So here the percentage of wet steam will be more. Here the percentage of wet steam may be 50-50. Here if you go more vapor, and when you reach here it will be absolutely vapor, 100% vapor. So that is point C. So when you reach a particular point C, there won't be any water molecules present in that. In other words, it is called as dry steam. Okay. So that is denoted, the amount of heat supplied to that is denoted as HFG, or it is called as latent heat of evaporation. Okay, HF is called as sensible heat, right? HF is called sensible heat. That is the heat required to raise the temperature from 0 degree to saturation temperature. Now what is HFG? That is also the amount of heat. No, that is also utilized for something. So how do you define what is latent heat of evaporation? So if you want to define it, latent heat of evaporation, you can define it like this. It is the amount of heat required to evaporate 1 kg of water at saturation temperature to 1 kg of dry steam at the same saturation temperature at given constant pressure. Isn't it? So if you can understand what is happening, it's easy for you to define it. So how do you define HFG? It is defined as the amount of heat required to evaporate 1 kg of water from its saturation temperature to 1 kg of dry steam at the same saturation temperature at given pressure. Or that is called as latent heat of evaporation. That is HFG. Okay. Then what will happen? Let's continue now. Then what will happen now? Suppose if you heat it further, now everything has become dry steam. There is no water molecules at all, but you are not stopping the heat, you are further increasing the heat. So you can refer this in the previous case. So here we have this point C is actually in between wet steam it is, and then you reach this particular point where it becomes completely dry steam, and this is the point where it is this point is actually C and D are there, right? So C is in between and D is the end, but in this graph when it is shown, actually this point is shown as C. Actually C is somewhere here in between, and this should be taken as D, dry steam, and this should be taken as E, okay, to be more specific. But we are not explaining the concept of B and in between C and D. So we have taken this as BC, that is from wet steam to dry steam, and from here to here we have taken it as superheated steam. So in the previous sketch if you are referring, then C is somewhere here and D is here, and they are representing E by this point. Hope you understand that, right? So there is these A, B, C, D, E has no relevance with this A, B, C, D. This is a different A, B, C, D. These are the sketch numbers that is given here. I don't want you to confuse with that. Okay. This is the sketch A, sketch B, sketch C, sketch D and sketch E. This is not the capital A here. So please don't get confused with this A. Of course, it coincides here. This A and that A will match. This B and the other B will match. But C is in between capital B, C in the graph. And this point D is actually C in the graph. And this is the last one, last sketch, which represents D in the graph. Okay. So continuing there, so you continuously heat it further. What will happen? Now you can see the temperature is increasing. Why? Because there is no phase conversion taking place. From liquid to vapor, it is being converted from B to C. From here to here, there was phase change that was taking place from liquid to vapor. But here it's already become vapor. So again, if you give heat, the temperature would again increase. Just like how it was increasing here, isn't it? Here it is already water, and you are increasing the heat, means the temperature will increase, but it will still remain as water only. No. Same way, here it has already become vapor, but when you are increasing the temperature of the vapor will increase. And that point D, which is called as superheated temperature, or it is denoted by TSUP. So a certain higher temperature above the dry steam, if you heat it further, the temperature of that particular vapor at that point is called as TSUP, or superheated temperature. And in the same way, the total heat that is supplied is called as H superheated, or enthalpy of superheat. Okay, so how do you define enthalpy of superheat now, or H superheated? So enthalpy of superheat can be defined as the amount of heat required to increase the temperature of a dry steam from its saturation temperature to any higher desired temperature at the given pressure is called amount of superheat, or enthalpy of superheat. Simple, isn't it? So it is defined as the amount of heat that is required to increase the temperature of the steam from its saturation temperature to any higher temperature at the constant pressure is called as amount of superheat. And the temperature thus attained is called as superheated temperature. Okay, so this is how formation of steam takes place, and this is what you have to very elaborately explain in the exam when it is asked. So if this question is asked, you will draw this graph properly, explain what is point A, what is point B, what is point C, what is point D, what is happening from O to A to B, what is happening in between B to C, and what is happening between C to D. So in meanwhile, you will also have to define these terms: what is sensible heat, what is enthalpy of evaporation, latent heat of evaporation, what is amount of superheat, what do you mean by T saturation, what do you mean by T superheated. Everything has to be explained in detail. Okay. Okay, so next we have to see types of steam. I have already told you this. Types of steam: we have wet steam, dry steam, and superheated steam. So all this can be asked as definitions. So you should know what is wet steam, what is dry steam, and what is superheated steam, and you also have to define it properly. Okay, so first one is wet steam. So what do you mean by wet steam? A wet steam is defined as a two-phase mixture containing saturated liquid and vapor formed at the saturation temperature at a given pressure. The wet steam formed contains a small amount of water particles held in suspension that has not yet absorbed the latent heat and evaporated. So what is wet steam? As I've told you, we can very clearly explain this in the previous graph itself, isn't it? I'll just go back to that. So wet steam will be in between B to C. Okay, whenever definition is asked, you can still draw this graph and explain. So B to C, so at point B we have 100% water. We cannot call that as wet steam, it's still water only. But in between B to C, we will have something called as wet steam. So it will be a two-phase mixture of the liquid as well as vapor, okay, whose percentage will be varying in between B and C. But if they simply ask you what is wet steam, you will say that it's a two-phase mixture of liquid as well as vapor, where the water molecules will be suspended and it is yet to absorb the latent heat. So when it absorbs the latent heat, it becomes vapor. Okay, next is dry steam or dry saturated steam. Dry steam is a pure steam that does not contain water particles in suspension. Very simple. So it is a steam which does not contain any water particles in that. Only then you call it as dry steam. If it contains even a little bit of water molecules, it's still called as wet steam only. Even if it is 90% dry and 10% of water molecules are present in that, it is still called as wet steam. Okay. The percentage of dryness may be more, but it's still called as wet steam. It will be only called dry steam when 100% of the water has been converted into steam. So it is defined as the steam that exists completely in pure form at the saturation temperature and at a given pressure. So if you go to the graph and see, we are talking about point C here. So point C represents dry steam. Okay, not any point here. So at point C only it becomes dry steam. Next one is superheated steam. It is defined as the steam that is heated beyond its dry saturation state to a temperature higher than the saturation temperature of the steam at given pressure. The temperature at which the superheated steam is formed is called as superheated temperature, and it is denoted by T superheated. Right, so we are talking about anywhere here. So it is the steam which is heated beyond its saturation temperature. Ts is here. So when you are heating it further than that, the temperature increases, and that steam is called superheated steam, and the temperature of that particular steam is called as superheated temperature. Okay, so that is the different types of steam. Next one is steam properties or properties of steam. So first one is dryness fraction. This is important. Dryness fraction. Now what do you mean by dryness fraction? So this is applicable for wet steam. Okay, this dryness fraction concept is only applicable for wet steam. It is not a part of dry steam or superheated steam because it is 100% dry. So what do you mean by dryness fraction? Dryness fraction means in a wet steam, how much percentage of the steam is dry. This is what I was explaining at that time. In the line BC, if we are talking about a particular point in between B and C, if you want to know how much percentage of the steam is dry and how much percentage of the steam is wet, then we call that as dryness fraction of that. For example, if it is in between, I'll just go back to that again. So in between, let's say I want to know, say I know that this is total water, I know that this is dry steam. But if at all I want to know at any given point in between, let's say at this particular point where I placed it now, if I want to know how much percentage of the steam is dry, then that is called as the dryness fraction. It may be 60% dry or say 70% dry here. If you come here, it may be only 10% dry. That means 90% of that is still water. Only 10% vapor has become. Or when I come here, it may become 90% of dry steam. So this point is called as dryness fraction. How much dry the steam is. So here it may be 90% or it varies from person to person at different points. So that is what you mean by dryness fraction. So how do you define that? It is defined as the ratio of mass of the dry steam present in a known quantity of wet steam to the total mass of the wet steam. Okay, so dryness fraction is a ratio of amount of dry steam, that is mass of the dry steam in a known quantity of wet steam to the total mass of the wet steam. So dryness fraction refers to the quality of the steam, or it's an indication of extent of its dryness, and it is denoted by X. So how do you measure the dryness fraction? It is the mass of the dry steam divided by total mass of the steam. Okay, so mass of dry steam, I will take it as mg, that is the mass of the dry steam present divided by total amount of mass of the steam, that is mg plus mf, where mf is the mass of the water particles. So for example, I am saying, I am not telling this for you to take this as values, but just let's say 1 kg of mass, that is the mass of the total wet steam is there. Out of that I have say 0.4 kg is water. I can measure it, right? 0.4 kg is water, and 0.6 kg would be the steam. Then the dryness fraction will be 0.6, that is 0.6 kg of mass of dry steam divided by 0.6 plus 0.4, 1 kg. So 0.6 by 1, it is 0.6 or 60% of dry steam. So usually the value of dryness fraction will be between 0 to 1 only. It will not exceed 1, because even if entire thing has become steam, that is 100% also it has become steam, then in 1 kg, if I am taking example, then 1 kg is dry steam, 1 kg divided by mass of dry steam 1 plus mass of wet steam, there is no wet steam, 0. So 1 divided by 1 will also be equal to 1. So the maximum value of dryness fraction can be 1. It cannot exceed 1. So the value of dryness fraction will be in between 0 to 1. So depending upon how much percentage of dryness it has. So it can be 0.1, 0.2, 0.3, 0.4, any value, 0.9, but it cannot cross 1. Okay, so mass of the dry steam present in the wet steam divided by total mass of the steam, where mg is the mass of the dry steam and mf is the mass of water particles. For example, that is given here. Let's say 1 kg of wet steam will contain 0.9 kg of dry vapor, then the dryness fraction will be 0.9. Understand, no? So mg is 0.9, mf is 0.1. So 0.9 divided by 0.9 plus 1. So 0.9 divided by 1 is 0.9. So that is the dryness fraction. So 0.9 is the dryness fraction, means 90% of the steam is dry. Or 0.2 is the dryness fraction, means 20% of the steam is dry, 80% of the steam is wet. I hope you understand that. Next one, I have already told all of these while explaining in the graph itself. So these definitions you already know. I am just repeating it here. First one is sensible heat. How it is denoted by? It is denoted by HF in the graph, right? Sensible heat. So it is the amount of heat required to raise the temperature of 1 kg of water from 0 degree Celsius to saturation temperature at a given pressure. It is denoted by HF. I have very clearly explained this earlier. What do you mean by that? Same way, I also explained what is HFG, latent heat of evaporation. So it is the amount of heat required to convert 1 kg of water at saturation temperature to 1 kg of dry steam at same temperature at the given pressure. That is called enthalpy of evaporation or latent heat of evaporation. That is denoted by HFG in the graph. Sensible heat is HF, latent heat of evaporation is HFG. Next is amount of superheat, which is denoted by HSUP, H superheated. It is the amount of heat required to raise the temperature of the dry saturation steam above its saturation temperature at the given pressure, and this process is called as superheating, and it is denoted, the temperature is called T superheated, and it is denoted by H superheated. Now, degree of superheat, it is defined as the difference between superheated temperature and saturation temperature. This is called as degree of superheat. That means how much superheating you have done. So if the saturation temperature is so much and you have heated it further, you can heat it to any extent, no? It can be very high temperature also. So if you take the difference between the superheated temperature and the saturation temperature, it will tell you what is the quality of the superheated steam or the degree of superheat. So here T superheated minus Ts will tell you the degree of superheat. Okay, so next we have enthalpy of steam. So enthalpy of steam is defined as the sum of internal energy and product of pressure and volume, and it is denoted by H and is expressed as kilojoules per kg. We have come across this definition before also, right, when I was doing thermodynamics. So again, it's the same definition for enthalpy of the steam. So enthalpy of the steam is defined as the sum of internal energy U plus product of pressure and volume, and it is denoted by H and is expressed in unit is kilojoules per kg. So H is equal to U plus PV. So same way, enthalpy of wet steam is defined as the amount of heat required at a given pressure to convert 1 kg of water at 0 degree Celsius to 1 kg of wet steam at a given dryness fraction. It is denoted by HW, and it is given by HW is equal to HF plus X into HFG. So it's all enthalpy only. So all the units will be kilojoules per kg. But enthalpy of wet steam will be different, enthalpy of dry steam will be different, enthalpy of superheated steam will be different. Okay. So enthalpy of wet steam formula is HF plus X into HFG. Now what is X? X is the dryness fraction. Okay. So HF is the sensible heat, HFG is the latent heat, and X is the dryness fraction. So you need to remember these formulas for numericals. When we have problems on these things, we will have to know this particular formula. So enthalpy of wet steam is equal to HW is equal to HF plus X into HFG. So enthalpy of dry steam, as I told you, it is defined as the amount of heat required at a given pressure to convert 1 kg of water at 0 degree Celsius to 1 kg of dry saturated steam at the saturation temperature. So it is denoted by Hg. Remember this. Enthalpy of wet steam is denoted by Hw. Enthalpy of dry steam is denoted by Hg. So Hg will be equal to Hf plus Hfg. Actually, it's the same formula, right? For enthalpy of wet steam is Hf plus X into Hfg, right? So here also it's the same formula, Hf plus X into Hfg only. But X is how much here? Dryness fraction is 1 for dry steam, isn't it? So it is Hf plus directly Hfg, because there is no dryness fraction to be multiplied as 0.8 or 0.7. It is 1. Next is enthalpy of superheated steam. So enthalpy of superheated steam is defined as the amount of heat required at a given pressure to convert 1 kg of water at 0 degree Celsius to 1 kg of superheated steam at the given superheated temperature. It is denoted by H superheated, and it is given by the equation H superheated is equal to Hg plus Cps into T superheated minus T saturation. Now what is that CPS? CPS means specific heat of the superheated steam. Rest of the terms you already know. Hg is the enthalpy of dry steam, T superheated is the superheated temperature, Ts is the saturation temperature, right? So all these formulas you need to know while solving the problems. So HW, enthalpy of wet steam is equal to HF plus X into HFG. Hg, enthalpy of dry steam is HF plus HFG. And superheated, enthalpy of superheated steam is Hg plus Cps into T superheated minus T saturation. All the units are kilojoules per kg. Okay, there are some of the terms here. Specific volume of the steam. So I'll just go through these things. So specific volume of steam is defined as the volume occupied by the unit mass of steam at a given temperature and pressure. What is specific volume? It is the volume occupied by unit mass of the steam at a given temperature and pressure. It is expressed as meter cube per kg. Okay, volume, specific volume means in 1 kg how much volume it will occupy. So it is expressed as meter cube is amount of volume per kg. Next is specific volume of saturated water. It's the same again. It's defined as the volume occupied by 1 kg of water at the saturation temperature and given pressure. It is denoted by Vf. Specific volume of wet steam. Wet steam contains, as you know, it's a two-phase mixture of saturated water and steam. Hence, specific volume of wet steam is defined as the volume occupied by the saturated water and vapor at the given pressure. And it is denoted by Vw, just like enthalpy as Hw, specific volume is Vw, and it is given by X into Vg, where X is the dryness fraction and Vg is the specific volume of dry steam. Next one, specific volume of dry saturated steam. It is defined as the volume occupied by 1 kg of dry steam in the saturation temperature given pressure. Same thing, right? Just like how you have enthalpy or volume. So what is the amount of volume occupied by 1 kg of dry steam? That is called as specific volume of dry steam. And same way, specific volume of superheated steam will be the amount of defined as the volume occupied by 1 kg of superheated steam at superheated temperature and at given pressure, and it is denoted by V superheated. Okay. So we have the formula according as per the Charles law, that is V superheated by T superheated is equal to Vg by Ts. Okay, that is specific volume of superheated steam divided by superheated temperature will be equal to specific volume of dry steam divided by saturation temperature. So using this you can find out any one unknown. So you may in the problems they may give you one unknown and you may have to find this. So V superheated will be cross multiply. If you do, it is Vg into Ts, T superheated divided by Ts. Okay, next is density of the steam. So what do you mean by density of the steam? So mass of the steam per volume. So density is mass by volume, isn't it? So it is the mass of the steam per unit volume of the steam at a given temperature and pressure. It is the reciprocal of specific volume. So we know that density is 1 by volume. So density of wet steam will be what? 1 by X into Vg. Density of dry steam will be 1 by Vg, because X is equal to 1 for dry steam. Okay, so we have density of steam. As I've told you, we have finished that. Last one in this, what we have here is external work of evaporation. Now, what do you mean by external work of evaporation? So, external work of evaporation means when you heat a particular water or steam, the amount of energy that is required for that to lift that piston. If you remember the sketch which I have told you, where we have water and you place the piston and a weight on top of that. So the amount of work, energy that is required to lift that piston upwards is called as external work of evaporation. Okay, so for the definition, if you see, it's that when the water at the saturation temperature is heated at constant pressure, it gets converted into steam, right, by absorbing the latent heat. The part of this latent heat is used to move the piston due to the increase in volume of the steam during evaporation. The work done due to the change in volume of steam from Vf, that is wet steam to dry steam, is called external work of evaporation. So external work of evaporation is product of pressure into volume, that is P into difference in volume, Vg minus Vf. Okay, so the last concept what we have is internal energy. So with this we will complete this entire module, internal energy. So every substance has a definite amount of heat energy stored in it. Okay, the energy that we possess, or generally any substance that will have some energy that will be stored inside the body, that is called as internal energy. The actual heat energy stored in the system is called as internal energy of the steam, and that can be obtained by subtracting the external work of evaporation. Okay, so how do you get the internal energy? Internal energy is got by subtracting the external work of evaporation from that, and whatever is left out is called internal energy from the enthalpy. So total enthalpy of steam will be there, right? H. So if you subtract the external work of evaporation from that, what we get is internal energy. So internal energy is equal to enthalpy of the steam minus external work of evaporation. So for different conditions of the steam, you have same formula but varying because of its enthalpy value. So for wet steam it will be HF plus X into HFG, that is the enthalpy, minus 100 into Px into Vg. For dry steam it will be Hg minus, no, there is no HF plus X into HFG, it is Hg minus same thing, 100 into P into Vg. For superheated steam it will be H superheated minus 100 into P into V superheated. Okay, so that is about internal energy. Okay, so I'll stop here. So I've completed in this video is the formation of steam, how steam is formed, what happens from 0 degree Celsius till it reaches superheated state. We have studied different types of steams. What do you mean by wet steam? What do you mean by dry steam? What do you mean by superheated steam? Then different terms associated with that, like sensible heat, latent heat of evaporation, amount of superheat. Okay, and different terms now. Okay, so more importantly the question is to explain the formation of steam with the help of TH diagram in this. Okay, so we've completed the entire part here. Thank you.